What is called by the native Indians as the Great Day of Purification has begun. This is a relatively short but most essential cycle of division that will gather those who promote fear and violence and separate them from this season of the world, as chaff is separated from wheat at threshing. During these current decades, humankind will experience this separation. It is now well underway. This will be a transformation in human consciousness, more fundamental than the development of language, more significant than the shift to agriculture, more meaningful than any historical revolution. Consider it as you would perceive a dawn. As the sun rises, the shadows become sharper and more clearly defined. As the energies of love grow stronger, the shadows of fear become more visible than before. To some it may even appear that they have grown in number and in strength, but this is not so. What was hidden has simply become revealed, that it might be healed and brought to peace. Action born from fear is becoming less effective with each passing day. Institutions, traditions, and societies forged in fear have already begun to falter. Change is occurring everywhere, for as the planetary awakening proceeds, the consciousness that determines the quality and nature of life is itself changing. Further, once man knows truth, he cannot again return to unknowing. He may well turn away, but he will never return to the state of innocent ignorance. Amidst all these changes, more and more people are again turning to God for guidance and direction. Unfortunately, they go first to ones of earth who reinforce first the lies. However, as ones begin to seek more deeply in the quest for inner knowledge, they finally come into truth. They are coming to dwell in the place of their own inner spirits, and to recognize their spirits as expressions of the God they seek from outside selves. God asks only to be trusted in the human heart. He seeks no temples of stone or gold inlays, only the silent, loving comfort of his own temple within. That is when the awakening takes place. The Creator asks not to be worshipped in an external image, but to be acknowledged in each human being. You are all God beings in potential with no reason not to become God as the reality within. Trust yourself. Trust your natural response to each new situation. The action arising from within your heart is not going to be destructive. It is going to suggest the most creative path to walk in answer to your situation and your world. When you trust yourself, you're trusting in the wisdom that designed you. This is how you trust in God. It is not an abstract thing. Trusting in God is trusting in the God who lives within you, trusting in your spirit's ability to respond to each situation beautifully, individually, creatively, and impeccably. When you doubt your native ability to breathe the air of spirit into your world and create according to your divine thought, you are doubting both God and the universe. You are rejecting life's most precious gift to you, your own inner knowing, and you are presuming to replace it with values, judgments, and opinions you have acquired secondhand. Without the acquisition of another skill, without the acquisition of anything but complete and total trust in God and in self, you have everything you need to interact optimally, creatively, and productively with every situation you encounter. There are no exceptions. Perhaps as much as 80% of your current typical behavior is exactly what you would do in a fully awakened state. Accept yourself. Feel clear about all you do. As you do this, you begin to introduce into your actions the very power of the Creator. There is a movement of spirit that proceeds from within your heart to greet the world with the clarity of perfect action. That movement is intuitive. It is your direct link with the source of all life. In the instant you know what to do, and in that same instant you know what to do, you flow into the perfect action required. Trust your intuition. It is an arrow whose shaft has been carved straight and smooth. Unerring and true, it flies to its mark. Can the ponderous tread of the rational mind be compared to the swift, sure flight of, say, an arrow? Reason is designed to support, not to lead your action. It is meant to help you implement the purposes of your heart. It is not meant to determine them. Trust in God by giving honor unto and trusting your intuitive sense. No God would create a creature without the wisdom to chart its course. Trust the nature of your design. God's actions appear within your awareness as the most natural thing for you to do. Following them will reconnect you with the awesome powers of the universe, for all your actions will then be in harmony with the underlying intent of the life force itself. Pouring forth from the heart of the Nagual, the region of being, the infinity of God, the nameless void, are powerful streams of energy which we of the higher relations channel into the emotional field around the earth. These energies are designed for creation, but when they meet with disharmony, as is the case with your present-day human world, they translate into energies of healing, forgiveness, and education. We can direct these energies in a general sense, but before they can reach full power, they must be consciously directed by people who are awake and incarnate on Earth, hence the need for you ones in the physical form. Only then do they enter the realms of specific application that will release their fullness. And during the remainder of this cycle, complete the healing of your race. You are being invited to open your heart and make a welcome for these immense creative energies. You are being invited to help direct the powers of the eternal. There are two requirements. The first is that your heart be open, loving, and able to channel, at least to some degree, the love of God. The second requirement is that your identity be fully in the present moment. If your identity is based in your past experiences or thrust forth into the what-ifs of the perceived future, you are not truly present. What looks through your eyes is then only a fictitious creature, an image, an illusion. Too much thinking about oneself is the greatest thing that keeps human identity from being fully present. For when you are constantly self-reflecting, you are too caught up in past and future to notice the presence around you. You are doubting your own power, whether or not you realize such. You are not vibrating fast enough to channel the immense energies of creation because your attention is scattered, and you are closed to the one moment where the love that would quicken you exists, the moment where you are. Certainly there is nothing wrong with human individuality. It is as necessary to God as, say, leaves are to a tree. But you have made a god of leaves and have forgotten the tree at the source of life. If you truly wish to channel God's blessings, then begin thinking of yourself less as an isolated self and more as one of a tribe. You are all of human society. You are the world and all within it. When you relax into perception of other as self, when you think of yourself as the pair of eyes into which you look, when you care about those around you as much as you once cared about yourself, then the energies of healing and transformation are able to flow freely through you. Your eyes, your ears, your every sense is attuned to the richness of the surrounding world. All your senses are operating at a rapid enough level of perception, correction, and decision-making to keep up with the energies pouring into your heart from the Great Spirit, who comes to fill the needs of the world through you. Dear ones, the facts are that love vibrates very, very rapidly. Those who channel fearful energies find that as time passes, the fear vibration drains enthusiasm, energy, perception, and interest. And that is what your world needs in this current age. Your love and your perception clearly manifest. This is that which will heal the world. Clear and undistorted perception, flowing through a you that is not self-reflective in the egoic sense, but self-reflective in the sense of knowing the God within. The self to reflect on is the self that you truly are, the Creator, the Eternal One, the Spirit of God. You reflect on those aspects of the Great Spirit that manifest before you, as the men, the women, the children, the plants, the animals, the crystals, the other minerals, the creatures of the world, entrusted to your care. First and foremost, you are a steward of your immediate world. You care for the earth, not in some nebulous way, but directly as an individual representative of God. You take responsibility for bringing love and understanding into every environment through which you pass. You effort to leave balance and harmony in your passing. As the birds welcome the morning with song, when you act totally in love, you welcome God, the Great Spirit, into your world. You become a conscious cell in the awakening earth. The physical atoms of your body sing together, vibrating in harmony. Your integrity and unity of being, your integration of purpose and expression, brings resonance to everything you are, and to everything you perceive, and thusly to everything with which you interchange. You become a natural channel for the vast and powerful energies of creation. Through you they flow into the healing and transformative work of these decades, pulsing with the atoms of your body physical, pulsing in perfect rhythm with the world around you. You know yourself as a localized expression of your own universal being. You know your first self as the attachment of the Great Spirit, awakening within the human populations of the earth during this time of cycling. And as a child of the natural world, you know your second self as an individual human being within those populations, manifest and functioning within that manifestation. As one who has awakened to the energy, your eyes behold the world around you as the divine world within, and you know you are, inside. You, the fragment of Creator, and the world are one in the same in the ending. You are but a reflection of the totality. You are awake. Just as are bees in communication with the spirit of their hive, you know in an instant all that is transpiring throughout the field of collective human consciousness. Your biosphere is active and alive. From the collective field of your larger awareness of the earth, you are then able to instantaneously access the knowledge you need in the moment. You use your individual free will to pursue God's will, and you know God's will is your own. Your identity rides the crest of unity's wave at the very meeting place of Creator and creation. You become immersed in universal currents of flowing love. You are free. The Great Spirit's own consciousness flows freely into and through your heart and perceives all through you. This is the sight to the innocent to see through the eyes of God. It was preordained that creation would exist within a rhythm of expansion and contraction since the first breath of God at the beginning of all the worlds. Eventually, there would come a time when the physical universe would stop expanding and begin to contract. The process is referred to by some as the breathing in and the breathing out of God. The action of breathing out all creation and then breathing it all back in again. It is a good concept for all flows and cycles of flowing out and flowing back again to source. At this point in what we refer to as linear time, you are very close to the middle of the cycle, soon to reach the exact midpoint between the out-breath and the in-breath of God. The universe began to reach this midpoint when unicellular organisms were emerging on the earth. The exact midpoint is at hand, but not yet fully attained. It will coincide with what has come to be called the second coming of Christ. Don't get hung up on terminology, for this is only a definitive term for reference. When any vibrational system reverses the momentum of its direction, as a pendulum does at the uppermost point of its swing, there is a moment of complete rest before it resumes its movement in the opposite direction. Since rest or the total cessation of movement constitutes the opposite of time, there is at the precise moment of its occurrence a micro-interval of non-time, a moment of eternity. This is the same interval of non-time that occurs many times every second as the atoms of the physical world vibrate back and forth. This is an opening into the Nagwal, a doorway into the presence from which all life energy springs. What happens when an entire cosmos reaches the exact point of directional change and comes to a moment of absolute rest? You will have the opportunity to see for yourself very soon now, for this event lies just before you in linear time, and that is why you have returned, to bear witness. it will provide an opening for the emerging of something incomprehensible. The entire biological history of your planet has been but the shadow cast in matter by your approach, so to speak. It is the way that rocks and water and air have begun to respond to your presence, for you represent life itself. You are that which lies beyond all duality, beyond all materializing tendencies, beyond all restraints of time and space. Your consciousness is both infinite and eternal. It can dwell in the limitations of matter and perceive through whatever filtering systems you so choose. But in healthy function, it is not bound or limited by those systems. Rather, it uses them as instruments of perception, exploration, and adventure. Outside of time and space, you are one with the Creator, the all that is, the Source. But when your consciousness moves within the context of a manifest universe, you become the Son, the Christ. In essence, you are the relationship between spirit and matter, the mediator, the bridge, the means through which the Creator relates to creation. You are life as it relates to planet Earth, eternity as it relates to time, the infinite as it relates to the finite. Though you presently experience yourself as a separate and fragmented species, you are in fact a single unified being, sharing the full consciousness of the Creator. You are brought into living, focused expression when you are inside of creation by the manner in which time and space, matter and energy, sea and stone react to your presence. As the Christ, as the only begotten consciousness of the Father, you have been given a number of remarkable qualities. You are able to expand and contract in accordance with the focus of your attention. You are large enough to encompass all of creation, yet small enough to climb inside. Your Father Creator also permeates creation, but in a different way. In His vastness, He surrounds creation. His being saturates the physical universe, all the stars, the sun, the planets in your solar system, the distant galaxies, but He relies on you for His focus. You are His specific attention. As the focus of the Creator's attention, you have been roaming around inside of creation for billions of years, expanding and contracting, drifting in and out of this galaxy, that galaxy, this star system, that star system. Everywhere you go, you see the matter that your Father has created. You observe the many wonderful forms it takes, the mighty suns, the red giants, the white dwarfs, the vast spiraling galaxies, the quasars, the black holes, the white holes, the whole. You watch the incredible contortions of time and space that take place in the various gravitational fields through which you pass. You note the planets, asteroids, moons, and comets circling within each star system you visit. You drift around, the Father's representative, the Father's attention, and you enjoy the worlds that have been brought into being. But all these worlds are physical. They are all made of matter. They are made of the bonded energy attention of the Father. They have a certain substance, a certain solidity that you as spirit lack. You realize that this is their limitation. You realize that they are defined and specified in ways that you are not defined and specified. Yet something about them certainly intrigues you. By and by, you get an idea. You begin to wonder if you might not just possibly somehow or another clothe yourself in matter and construct for yourself a physical body that you could then travel around in, perceiving matter from the same perspective with which matter perceives herself. The idea contains one paradox after another, yet something about it keeps you wondering. It puzzles you, and you all love puzzles at which to toy and tinker away. You just keep right on mulling it over as the eons roll by, figuring out some way to make it work. Until this point, there was no biological life in the universe. The rocks had a limited consciousness, but it was not responsive to the intent of your spirit. In solid, liquid, or gaseous states, matter as created and defined by your Father behaved quite predictably, according to fundamental physical principles, untampered with until that time. Throughout your travels in the physical universe, you had always kept your consciousness separate from the matter you observed. At the time you hit upon this plan, however, all that changed. You looked around until you found a suitable planet for what you had in mind. Not too hot, not too cold, situated within a stable young star system. You then focused your attention and your vibrational body in an entirely new way, an open way, a self-sacrificing way, a very powerful, loving way. Gently, slowly, you began to approach the planet. As the outermost edges of your vibrational field touched the waters of the planet, particles of previously inert matter began to gently vibrate to the rhythms of your being, aligning themselves with the energy patterns found on the periphery of your awareness. There, on the Precambrian ocean floors, they began combining to form the first cells, the first minute containers for your consciousness to meet the demands of your experience. In your new orientation with your new form of attention, in a gesture of infinite love to this planet, you began offering your consciousness on the time-space cross of material reality. You allowed your consciousness to clothe itself in the limitations of physical substance, accepting its restrictions. You allowed the atoms and molecules that were forming the first cells to come to life with your consciousness along the lines of your own vibrational field. At the same time that you allowed your consciousness to become clothed with particles that had been subject to the laws of the materializing process, you taught the matter of Earth to rise up in a joyful dance with your spirit. As you drew ever nearer to the planet, the life forms that were taking shape began to contain more and more of your own awareness. You relaxed, opened yourself, and gave. You procreated the Earth with your life, with your very being. You looked out of many eyes and heard with many ears, and before embodiment you were single. You drew identity from the totality of the relationship between Creator and creation. You were the Christ, fully conscious and alert, aware of yourself, unified, integrated. You realized that to accomplish embodiment you would have to allow at least a portion of your identity to come to rest among the creatures you were birthing. Each of these would possess a type of hologrammatic consciousness that rightly thought of itself as both part and whole simultaneously. However, the presence of this consciousness could only be a certainty after the embodiment process was complete. During your actual surfacing through the substance of Earth, there was a possibility that certain creatures might become self-active. Therefore, there had to be a means of regulating your disintegration from without. You wanted a part of you observing and experiencing the entire process. As you prepared to enter into the planetary relationship, you created beings to represent your original state of unified awareness. These are the angels, dear ones. Their value, as well as their limitation, springs from the fact that they have no comprehension of the process you are undertaking. Their instructions were to pretty much stay out of things until very near the very end of the process. Then, upon receipt of a prearranged signal, they were to commune with the human beings on Earth at that time and assist them in awakening to their original state of unified consciousness. Hence we come as the alarm clocks, and we received that signal some 2,000 of your years past. It has taken almost 2 millennia to prepare you for the message we bring. You had to be educated before communion of this nature was possible. However, the time is at hand. Our instructions are to awaken you to a remembrance of purpose, a remembrance of self. It is time to begin the final cycle of conscious creation, during which the Earth creatures themselves participate in the unfoldment of their design. The body you are creating for the habitation of Christ consciousness is to be a mobile body, fueled by creative intentions of the Father, capable upon completion of leaving the Mother's side. I am known as Yorgos Sir-Es Ha-Tan, Commander-in-Chief Earth Project Transition of the Pleiades Sector Flight Command and the Intergalactic Federation Fleet, Ashtar Command. Let there be no misunderstanding of who I am. I come in this portion as a fourth-dimensional project commander in charge of Earth transition. Please join me in Part 4 of the Garden of Eden, so we may complete this story as one.